or visit a Spectrum store today.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. The U.S. will assist Canada in an investigation into what caused a Delta Airlines flight to flip upside down at Toronto's Pearson Airport yesterday. 18 were injured, but no casualties were reported. Those hurt had relatively minor injuries, according to the airport's CEO. The flight was traveling to Toronto from Minneapolis. Top officials from the United States and Russia meet in Saudi Arabia today. The hope is to improve ties between the two countries and negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. It's also meant to pave a way for a meeting between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country won't accept the outcome if Kyiv doesn't take part. Saudi officials say they plan to play a key mediation role. First severe flooding, now snow and a dangerous deep freeze as rivers begin to recede in Kentucky and the Ohio Valley. An Arctic blast is descending on much of the country today. 4 deputy mayors for New York City Mayor Eric Adams have resigned. The resignations come just days after the Justice Department officially moved to dismiss federal corruption charges against Adams. Now, New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she is meeting with city leaders today to discuss what she calls the path forward. That's your Spectrum News in 90.
Hello everyone, meteorologist Scott Dean with your weather on the One's forecast for this Tuesday as we continue to track our latest winter storm that's bringing snow to the Midwest. That's going to be pushing eastward over the next couple of days with snow and ice over portions of the Mid-Atlantic. Very cold air is pushed southward across the plains into the Midwest. A high of only 6 above in Kansas City with snowfall with the cold temperatures heading onto the east.
I'm Bree Driscoll, and thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. Today is Tuesday, February 18th. Our top story, investigators are searching for answers after a Delta Airlines plane crashes at Toronto's Pearson Airport. Amazingly, everyone on board survived, although 18 were injured. The plane flipped during strong wind gusts, and after several inches of snow blanketed the airport. Spectrum's Katie Strite has the heart-pounding video and the dramatic stories from inside the cabin.
We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down.
A packed Delta airplane crash landed at Toronto's Pearson Airport Monday afternoon, ending without wings, a tail, upside down, and on fire.
When we hit, it was just a super hard, like I hit the ground, and the plane went sideways, and I believe we skidded like on our side and then flipped over on our back. Where we ended up, there was like a big fireball out this left side of the plane.
All 80 passengers were evacuated from Delta's Bombardier CRJ-900. That's 76 passengers and 4 crew members. At least 18 people were injured, according to the airport's CEO. Thankfully, no casualties on the flight from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
We tried to get out of there as quickly as possible. And then shortly thereafter, I got done filming the video. There was another explosion, but luckily the firefighters got out of there.
While investigators work to figure out why this crash occurred, analysts say the plane's safety features likely had something to do with survival. Nelson's just happy he and his fellow travelers got out of the crash in one piece. The crash is the 4th major aviation incident in North America in the past 3 weeks. A commercial jet and an Army helicopter collided near Washington, D.C. on January 29 29th, killing 67 people. A medical transport plane crashed in Philadelphia on January 31st, killing the 6 people on board and another person on the ground. On February 6th, 10 people were killed in a plane crash in Alaska. For Spectrum News, I'm Katie Strait.
Dangerously cold conditions are sweeping across the country today and tomorrow. The system could break more than 270 records in at least 27 states. This as many are still coping with extreme flooding conditions from a weekend storm in several states. Our Jenna Enoch reports.
Flood-torn areas complicated by a new winter storm rearing its ugly head.
We are still in the midst of this emergency response with a snowstorm coming.
The new storm is bringing an Arctic blast to the plains today before sweeping over the south tomorrow. Emergency crews are still rushing to rescue those stuck from flooding before snow and ice rush in.
There are going to be challenges, significant challenges for our transportation cabinet, but we ought to view this as for motorists, for our families. There are going to be challenges driving the rest of the week. Remember, lots of water. It's getting really cold, so there's ice.
The governor of Kentucky declaring a state of emergency on Friday, and President Donald Trump has approved a federal disaster declaration, freeing up federal funds for those hard-hit areas. When you combine frigid temperatures with precipitation, it could turn deadly. Experts say a wind chill of -20 can cause frostbite in 20 minutes, and hypothermia can happen in 30 to 50-degree weather.
We don't want to lose anyone to frigid temperatures after what we've been through with basically water rescues in the middle of a snowstorm.
Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
New fallout over the Trump administration's plan to cut government spending. The Social Security Administration's acting commissioner has stepped down. After more than 30 years of service, Michelle King left the agency due to concerns about the U.S. DOJ service. The agency had allegedly asked for access to Social Security recipient information, to which King refused. She has been replaced by Leland Dudak, another employee at the administration. Talks between U.S. and Russian officials underway today in Saudi Arabia. The meetings are part of an effort to ease tensions between the two nations and find a way to end the war in Ukraine. Washington reporter Angie Gonzalez has the story.
This morning, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov sat down in Riyadh for the first significant meeting between the two countries since Russia invaded Ukraine nearly 3 years ago. The discussions came after President Donald Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone last week.
Only jointly can Russia and U.S. address lots of world problems, resolve global conflicts, and offer solutions.
Saudi Arabia is hosting the two countries and playing a mediating role in the talks, which do not include a representative from Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky says no peace deal can be made on Ukraine's behalf without its involvement.
We cannot recognize anything or any agreements about us without us.
Zelensky arrived in Turkey overnight to meet with the country's president about their strategic partnership. In Paris, leaders from throughout Europe and NATO gathered for an emergency meeting to discuss their involvement in any deals to end the war. The Trump administration has said there's no role for Europe in the negotiations.
Europeans willing to step up, getting positively engaged, willing to help out in Ukraine post a peace deal, including with troops if necessary, but clearly with an American backup.
The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is set to come to Washington next week to meet with the president.
Ahead of the 3-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine, a bipartisan delegation of U.S. senators made several stops in the country Monday. They met with Ukrainian partners, including groups working to document alleged war crimes. In Washington, Angie Gonzalez, Spectrum News.
A call to action coming up here on Spectrum News, the message the nation's oldest civil rights organization has for President Trump and the administration's efforts to dismantle diversity programs.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful, and it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app.
Great news, Spectrum Internet customers. Now you can try Spectrum Mobile risk-free for a full year at no cost to you. It's easier than ever to switch. Bring your own device and we'll pay off your phone balance up to $500 per line. Spectrum Mobile brings you a reliable nationwide 5G network you can count on wherever you go. Plus, upgrade your phone anytime, as many times as you want, for any reason when you get Unlimited Plus. Call or visit a store near you. Our specialists are ready to help you switch.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back, everyone. Meteorologist Scott Dean with your Weather on the Ones forecast as we take you through your Tuesday and beyond as we're tracking our latest winter storm that's bringing some snow in the Midwest, including Kansas City over towards St. Louis. This is going to be pushing us east and southeast across the mid-Atlantic as we head through the next couple of days. Let's track it for you with our Futurecast model as it picks up on that snow. Farther to the south, there's going to be some ice in portions of Oklahoma into Arkansas, and then even farther south looking at just a cold rain. This area of snow will be pushing eastward, and it looks like areas south of St. Louis will pick up the most snow over towards Memphis as we head later on into Tuesday evening. And then as we take you into Wednesday morning, that snow is going to be pushing across Tennessee into the Appalachian Mountains and into the Piedmont of North Carolina, Virginia, with rain to the south. Now, as this system pushes eastward, it looks like we'll start to see a period of freezing rain and some sleet in central and eastern North Carolina. That could cause some problems. And it looks like the storm system is going to stay far enough offshore that it will not be affecting the major cities in the northeast as the last batch of snow pushes offshore. Looking at winter storm warnings for Wichita, portions of Missouri, including Kansas City, with a winter weather advisory for St. Louis. But these winter storm warnings extend over towards Kentucky. Unfortunately, the same areas that received the devastating flooding are going to be seeing snow, and then we're going to see snow and ice for portions of Virginia and North Carolina. There's the snow. It looks like there's going to be a bullseye in southern Missouri into northern Arkansas, and then more snow pushing to the east into Virginia and North Carolina. But we're going to have to watch out for the possibility of some serious icing going on in eastern North Carolina as the bitterly cold air continues to push south with highs in the teens, single digits in the north, with the warm air being shoved all the way down into Florida and over towards the southwest.
Joining us, here's a look at what you need to know. A Delta Airlines flight flips over at Toronto's Pearson Airport. 18 were injured, but no casualties reported. On the heels of devastating flooding in several states, an Arctic blast is descending on much of the U.S. today. Officials worry the combination of power outages, floods, and cold could be dangerous. And overseas, top officials from the United States and Russia are meeting in Saudi Arabia. The hope is to improve ties between the two countries and negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. But officials from Kyiv are not participating. That's a look at what you need to know this morning. Happening today, New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she will meet with New York City leaders to discuss the future of Mayor Eric Adams and what she calls the path forward. 4 of his top deputies announced their resignations yesterday. It's the latest fallout from the Justice Department's push to end the mayor's federal corruption case. One of the deputy mayors sent a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi accusing the Justice Department of engaging in quid pro quo tactics with Adams. In a statement, Adams says he is disappointed but understands their decision. The nation's oldest civil rights organization is releasing a call to action as the president looks to reshape the government. The NAACP is urging Black Americans to avoid companies that have dismantled diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Spectrum's Rena Diamante is in Washington with the latest.
Eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in government is a key priority for President Donald Trump. And now, several companies have decided to roll back their own programs, leading to backlash. The NAACP is looking to harness the purchasing power of Black consumers as a way to counter the reversal. The group published a spending guide over the weekend that encourages consumers to shop intentionally and buy from Black-owned businesses, as well as retailers that have stood behind their DEI initiatives. Those policies in part aim to increase workplace and supplier diversity, address bias and discrimination, and promote investments into historically Black colleges and universities. The advisory includes a list of businesses that have maintained as well as rescinded its commitments. The NAACP's president said on social media, while companies backtrack on diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments, the NAACP's Black Consumer Advisory is designed to leverage the $1.7 trillion spending power of the Black community to hold corporations accountable to DEI and social justice. Trump believes DEI programs are discriminatory, and he said he wants to create a system that's merit-based and colorblind. The NAACP argues, though, that rolling back such DEI initiatives threatens economic opportunities directly affecting Black communities across the country. In Washington, Rena Diamante, Spectrum News.
Southwest Airlines announcing it's cutting 15% of its corporate workforce. That's about 1,750 jobs. Cuts will begin in April. 11 senior executives, including some of the airline's vice presidents, are expected to be let go. This is the first mass layoff in the company's history. The airline says the layoffs will allow it to save over $500 million over the next 2 years. According to the Department of Agriculture, roughly half of hired crop farm workers lack legal immigration status. Our Tanya Velasquez shows us how President Donald Trump's recent executive orders on immigration could impact the farm industry.
77-year-old Valdemar Velasquez grew up as a farm worker in South Texas, traveling to other states for seasonal work before eventually settling in Ohio.
Picking every crop that you can think of: cherries, strawberries, apples, tomatoes, cucumbers, potatoes.
Velasquez says he's organized on behalf of agricultural workers for more than half a century, founding the Farm Labor Organizing Committee in 1967. He says the group has overcome barriers and made history, including the 8-year Campbell Soup strike in the 1980s.
The 2,000 workers, I'd say about 25% of those workers were undocumented, but they joined us anyway, and we won the rights for them.
He says Hasta la Victoria, or Until Victory, became their rallying cry, which they now repeat today as farm workers continue to face a wage gap and new challenges brought on by the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration.
Farmers are shying away from hiring undocumented people. The next wave of people that have come in are the visa H-2A workers, the temporary agricultural work visa.
Linda Alvarado Arce is an educator, activist, and longtime Northwest Ohio resident with roots in South Texas and northern Mexico. Alvarado Arce says she grew up going to the migrant field camps with her mom.
This is just in my blood. This is all I know. This is everything that I do.
She says she's dedicated most of her life to researching and documenting the experiences of the immigrant community, which she says plays a critical role in the economy.
If Americans all wanted to do this, then we wouldn't have farms, agricultural workers, migrant workers. We have this because there's a need.
Valdemar says through their efforts, they're hoping to push for reform in the immigration system and out in the field. Tanya Velasquez, Spectrum News.
transforming the way houses are built. Just ahead on Spectrum News, how a fire-resistant tiny home could help climate change and housing shortages.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
When you know you can go anywhere because you have a connection that's built for everywhere. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Hello, everyone. Meteorologist Scott Dean on this Tuesday with your Weather on the Ones forecast as we're tracking our latest winter storm that's bringing snow to the Midwest. And it looks like that snow and ice is going to be pushing eastward, eventually reaching the mid-Atlantic as we head into Wednesday. A very cold air continues to push to the south. Many areas well below freezing. In fact, some areas along the Canadian border have stayed below zero. Signs for a milder temperatures as we head into next week as the Arctic air eventually will start to relax. But we're dealing with this latest storm. As you can see, some snow across the Midwest, and that will be pushing eastward across the mountains and into the Piedmont of the Carolinas and Virginia. So we have an area low pressure down towards the Gulf Coast. To the north of that, we're talking about snow. In Arkansas, we're going to be talking also about ice. That's going to be moving eastward as this low pressure moves along the Gulf Coast, and the snow is going to expand in southern Missouri and northern Arkansas with a band of freezing rain to the south. This pushes eastward as we head into Wednesday morning. The deep south seeing rain, but it changes over to snow in North Carolina and Virginia with an area of ice in eastern North Carolina could cause some problems. And it looks like this system is going to push off the Carolina coast and stay far enough south that it will not affect the major cities of New York, Boston, and up into New England as it'll stay far enough offshore. But some cold air coming in on the backside of that system, and it looks like another system is going to be moving into the Pacific Northwest later on as we head closer to the weekend. There's the bullseye of snow across the Midwest, Arkansas, southern Missouri, and also pushing into the mountains of West Virginia, and North Carolina, with some more snow possible in northeast North Carolina as the cold Arctic air pushes southward. But as it pushes eastward, it will start to moderate and start to relax, but still cold conditions as we head into the weekend for the east. So you can see these cold temperatures, a high of only 6 above in Kansas City, 2 in Minneapolis. Minneapolis. Even the deep south is going to get cold as that storm system moves in, with highs in the 30s with snow and ice around Raleigh, North Carolina. As we go into Thursday, still cold in the Midwest over towards the east, and it looks like that cold air will progress into the eastern part of the U.S. with highs well below average. But again, we are looking at temperatures that are going to start to moderate. This takes us later on into February and early March, and some good news, above average temperatures.
The Department of Homeland Security launching a new ad campaign targeting undocumented immigrants. The 60-second spot features DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. She calls on unauthorized immigrants to leave the country or face deportation, adding, quote, "We will find you." This ad is just the start of the administration's multi-million-dollar campaign aimed at combating unauthorized immigration. Singer Sheryl Crow is trading in her Tesla. The Grammy Award winner posted a video to her Instagram account over the weekend showing her car being towed away. In the caption, she explained she was giving up the vehicle because of the company's owner, Elon Musk. Crow writing, "There comes a time when you have to decide who you are willing to align with. So long, Tesla." She says she is donating the proceeds from the sale to National Public Radio, which Musk and the U.S. DOJ service have threatened to dismantle. A San Diego professor has designed what could be the future of California housing. Our Bree Steffen shows us the fire-resistant building that could transform the way homes are built in wildfire-prone areas.
540 square feet of hope. Professor Daniel Lopez Perez is the architecture program director at the University of San Diego. He designed a fire-resistant home he calls the Poly House, which consists of just 64 panels. Instead of traditional lumber, Daniel says the Poly House was built using mass timber products, which offer half the rigidity of reinforced concrete while weighing a fraction and has a burn rate of hours.
Fire cannot enter. It has a harder time entering it, so its char rate, given its massiveness of weight and the fact that it has no air cavities.
He says all this gorgeous Douglas fir came from Washington as part of a collaboration with a reforestation project, creating a plug-and-play housing model that slashes construction costs and helps keep forests healthy.
I think it's a genius design.
Joaquin Ramirez has been working to reduce the impact of wildfires and extreme weather through his company, TechnoSilva. He also works with the International Association of Wildland Fire, analyzing wildfire risk and working with agencies like CAL FIRE to make operations safer. He says right now there is a great need for innovation in making communities safer in the face of climate change, and this design is an example of an accessible solution.
So I think it's important that our citizens understand that everybody needs to be part of the solution. This is not a firefighter job only. It has to start by the house, then our community.
Daniel built the first model of the Poly House in his own backyard, a reminder of the work to be done to build climate-resilient communities.
The recent fires have reminded us that we have to have that consciousness. We have to have a direct link between our housing production and the health of our forest, the health of our environment.
Bree Steffen, Spectrum News.
The polyhedron designs range in size from 540 to 2,500 square feet and can be built in just a matter of days. And don't forget, you can always stay connected with us here at Spectrum News by getting your national and local headlines on the go. Just download the free Spectrum News app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
The future is here with Spectrum Mobile and the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra with Galaxy AI. Do more than ever before by handling multiple tasks with a single ask through Google Gemini. And start the day smarter with Now Brief, insights that keep you ahead. Power it all with the fastest wireless speeds from Spectrum Mobile. Order the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra with Galaxy AI from Spectrum and get $700 off with trade-in. And now Spectrum Internet customers can try Spectrum Mobile risk-free for a full year at no cost.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back. To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels, that's a love we can all fight for.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at WeSaySaveIt.org.